That was our Christmassy opening sequence there. You see what I did? I went to town with all the additional little graphics and doobies that you can get on the editing software. So, welcome to the last Quizzy Monday of 2022. I've got all out with the decorations. Very festive me. Nobody can say I'm a Grinch. But we've got a great show to finish off the year. We have got Bhagwan from Mastermind, but you might remember him also from Only Connect from last year. And we got Jade from this year's, and in fact, tonight's Only Connect. So we'll be chatting to them about the shows tonight. Don't forget, you can put something in the chat if you want to join in with a discussion. Before we get going, I want to make sure that you're aware of this that's coming up very soon. That's it. The World inadvertently started that again. The World Quiz Awards are with us right now. We are currently asking for nominations. So go to tinyurl.com/WQA22 NOMS. We'll put that link in the chat. If you want to nominate World Quizzer of the Year, Individual Quiz Performance of the Year, Team of the Year, we've got Breakthrough Quizzer of the Year, we've got Competition of the Year, all sorts of things. Get your nominations in by the 24th, and we'll be releasing the vote after Christmas. And then we've got a live awards show where we will announce the winners coming up in January. So look forward to that. But let's crack on with tonight's show and start with somebody who you will have seen in tonight's opening sequence. And you will have seen him on our show last year several times, but he's here in a different capacity. Here's Bhagwan Manku. Hello, Bhagwan.
Woo. Hello. Hi, Gareth. How are you?
Good. How are you? How is it seeing yourself back on the telly box?
Oh, again, I don't know why I do it to myself. Absolutely traumatic. No, it was good. It was like a pipe dream. It's just absolutely like that was filmed back in July or June. It just seems like ages ago. But yeah, definitely feel less pressure watching it than actually being in that black chair. So
you picked Christina Aguilera as your
I
specialist subject. Bit of a hero of yours?
But yeah, I mean, I'm that person who will pick the pop culture and get slated for it. Why is it? And it's not a real subject. It is. You don't have as many books and stuff to read on these sort of things, so sometimes it's a little bit harder to actually revise. But yeah, great singer. Been a fan of her for such a long time and great voice. So I thought, well, why not add that as one of my 5 choices that I sent off an application form, and that's the one they picked for the Heat. So
it was a good choice, and you did brilliantly on it. And you say, pop culture subjects are difficult because, somebody who born, lived, and died, you've got kind of constrained parameters. Somebody with like Christina Aguilera, there might be biographies, but they're not likely to be kind of very kind of detailed academic tones. Those things tend to be a little bit more chatty. So presumably you had to like scour the internet and all sorts of sources to cover everything for her.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. I mean, I even got to actually reading like the liner notes and album booklets and looking at like producers and all these different like bits and bobs. And I think I actually ended up having like a question about one of the producers as well, which actually worked out quite well for me in the end. But yeah, it is quite difficult, especially like you said, when you sort of have like a timeline of somebody who is historical figure, birth, life and death. Whereas if there's sort of a current person who's still got ongoing things, you don't know where they're going to get all their questions from. I mean, the good thing about Mastermind is they do sort of let you sort of give you a chance if there's any particular sources that you want to suggest to them for some question ideas. So they do give you that opportunity as well. But I just go for it and let me just see if I can revise whatever and then take it from there.
We had James Devine Stoneman on a few weeks ago. He did Lady Gaga, I think, in his first round, and it was a very similar subject in many ways. But somebody who's got involved in a lot of things, has acted and performed, and he just found himself, that kind of lack of real crystal definition of the subject meant, he tripped
Yeah,
himself up on a couple where, they were fair questions, but the subject just could cover so many areas. So you did
that's the thing.
brilliantly to
Thank
get
you.
13 out of 14 right.
It was 13 out of 14. Yeah, yeah. It's one. Yeah, I got one wrong. I think it was. Yeah, in the end.
Yeah,
So,
Trish Somerville, I noted
oh, that
down.
name's gonna haunt me. That. Yeah,
Well, I mean,
I knew that as well, but the pressure when you're in the chair and everything, it's just your mind just turns into a pile of scrambled eggs, doesn't it? So it's
it does. And what you
yeah,
don't want to do is spend 20 seconds dredging up an answer and costing yourself getting maybe one or two other questions, do you? So, um,
yeah. No, that was the thing. I mean, I had that sort of tactic is if I'm spending a bit more than 3 seconds thinking of an answer, I will just
yeah,
either well, the thing I didn't want to do was pass because of
mm,
the at the end when they look at
mm,
passes and everything. So I thought, could it result in a tie? Then yeah, they will look at that.
mm,
So which is probably why people do end up giving some very silly answers, being on the spot. So the thing I didn't want to do was be sitting and thinking for a while because that does cost you time and points, I guess.
yeah. But you must have been pretty pleased to not only nail your subject as well as you did, but find yourself in the lead at halfway. That's pretty kind of dream territory.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think I would end up being there because I mean, you don't know how well or not well people have revised. It's
Mm,
just, you have that choice of your specialist subject, and
mm,
someone could have you could be up against somebody who knows their special subject like the absolute
mm,
back of their hand, and then that's it. You're absolutely screwed because they're already
mm,
5-6 points ahead. So I never would have thought in a million years that I'd be in the lead at the end of round one.
mm,
So yeah, I'm happy I did my specialist subject justice. Yeah,
yeah.
I can take that away from this experience and be
Mm.
happy about that.
And you didn't end up hating the subject by the end of it. We've had a few people who kind of it sucks the joy out of it.
Oh no, 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 no. I've seen her in concert since and all of that. So yeah, definitely not.
Well, Mastermind tagged her in one of their tweets, so let's hope
You
she noticed, or one of
Oh,
her team has
sure she's
pointed it
got far
out.
more important things to be doing, but it'll be nice, yeah.
Yeah, over Christmas, so she might catch up with it.
Yeah, maybe, maybe. Find out what's happening in the
Um,
UK.
it was a good set of players tonight.
Yeah, really good.
Catherine started off well. Tudor Rebellions, Stuart the Space Shuttle again, really good, solid score, and then Jonathan on James Parkinson.
Yeah,
Ran you fairly close on the
yeah,
specialist subject, but
very much so.
everybody was in the mix.
Yeah.
Did you have a sense of how well you might have to do in your general knowledge?
Yeah, I mean, they were sort of during the filming, Clive Myrie actually did make a comment about how one of our singular performances could have been an episode winner. And,
Mm,
that's how close and tight the actual heat was, and how backwards and forwards it went,
mm,
and that we were all very much up there with our knowledge of our specialist subject. I mean, that we all got double figures
yeah.
is, I think we all got double figures. I think pretty much.
I think there was 1-9, but yeah,
Was there
then a
one
10,
nine?
11, and 13, yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, they did mention of how like we all
Mm,
did very well and it was very close and it could have gone any way, and
mm,
of course it did. But yeah, I mean, you sort of got that inkling when they were mentioning things like that as the filming was going along that you thought, okay, you've got to sort of not let things rest on your laurels for the
mm,
general knowledge, and you sort of have to bring it there as best as you can to try and aim for the next
mm.
round.
Yeah, and so Stuart came in, he pushed the total out to 17.
Yeah,
Catherine pushed out to 19. At that point, you'd be thinking, actually, those are totals I've got in the bag. And then Jonathan comes along, gets 11 to
that
push the
was
target up to 22. Were
yeah.
you kind of counting along? What are you feeling in the chair when you're seeing him doing that well?
I kind of I don't remember that I was counting along, but I do remember thinking, wow, he's really good at his general knowledge and he's picked a very good specialist subject for himself, being a doctor and you know having probably researched around this person in a lot of his extra reading, and I thought that it was yeah, I could tell he'd done really well. I had no idea about the total
Mm,
score because you're sort of trying to focus and stay in the zone when you're there, and it's such a
mm,
heightened environment being in the studio, especially Mastermind, where everything's just
yeah.
completely dark and black. But it was yeah, you did sort of think, okay, right, I do need to not mess up this general knowledge round and
Mm,
answer a load of questions in the completely wrong way. And well, we all saw
mm.
what happened.
I mean, I wouldn't be harsh at this point. I think it's good to bring in Gerard's comment. You did beautifully, no matter what they say.
Oh,
Um,
I love
Gerard
it.
is also he made the joke on Twitter for the last person in the country who hasn't heard of Quiz Team Aguilera. So
Wow.
he made
That's,
someone
I mean,
short.
I think I think there's two teams that have tried to go for that name recently in my local pub quiz when it's already been taken. So yeah, it's a common one, I think.
It
Yeah.
is. Now Jonathan pushed it out to 22, as I said. Were
Yeah.
you aware that he passed?
Do you know what? No, no, actually, only watching it back today
Mm,
that I realized he passed. In my head, I just kept thinking about my tactic, try not to
mm,
pass because you know that's the that takes it
mm,
from you going and not going. I just wanted to go in the general knowledge thinking I want to just try and get as many as I can and try not to pass any.
mm.
And even if I come out with a really silly answer, hey, it makes for great television. So that's that. But
Uh,
I actually wasn't aware that he passed at all until I watched it back today.
Yeah. So I mean, I was watching it thinking, oh well, when you had answered Vladivostok and just threw that out, I just thought this is a guy who's just going to say anything rather than pass, and that's the right thing to do because
Yeah,
this looks like being tight, and the other guy's done a pass.
yeah,
It was just unfortunate that your guesses weren't coming off,
they
and
really weren't coming off at all.
one more. I mean, not wishing to rub salt in the wounds because I've been there, but one more and that would have been equal points, and you'd have been through. It's such fine margins, isn't it?
I think Cobb and Bun will haunt me forever
Oh,
now. Yeah. I don't know why. For some, yeah, you know, when you just your adrenaline's running and you can hear
mm,
your blood pumping in your ears, and you just sort of have to think of the first answer that comes out. And I was aware that the round was probably
yeah.
coming to the end, but it's fine. But
I,
it
I
only
think,
gets harder as it goes on, and more
yeah.
revision. Who's got
Well,
time?
I think that was a question where if they'd asked it the other way round,
Yeah,
you wouldn't have had a problem because you'd have thought, oh well, that's a bun,
yeah,
and then the bread question would have gone, oh well, definitely a bun, but
yeah.
cob, three-letter word for a type of bread roll, and once you got that in your head, it's difficult to show. I thought that was understandable, like because
I'm
cob was
from
the first thing I
Coventry. We call them a batch, so I am none the
yeah.
wiser. And I'm not going to start that. I'm not starting that war about what we call it. But
Is it a cob? Is it a
it is what
balm?
it
Is
is.
it a bap? Is it? Yeah, yeah. At
Yeah,
least you didn't answer bap. That could have been
yeah.
worse.
No, that
So
yeah, BAP would have been worse than Cobb. Yeah, but oh well, it wasn't meant to be.
it wasn't meant to be. And as I was saying, and Valerie told me to remember to say it. The first time is for reconnaissance. So
Yeah,
you have learned what it's like and what it takes.
yeah,
Would you do it again?
yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
It was very fun. I mean, obviously I wouldn't be allowed to do the same special subject again, so I'd have to maybe have to go back to the drawing board and do a bit more revision. But oh
Mm,
yeah, it's always really fun. I mean, doing a quiz show is great. I mean, like you mentioned, I was on only
mm,
Connect player last series, and
mm,
that was really fun. And
mm.
yeah, it's just yeah, I definitely would do another quiz show again for sure.
And how did it differ for you? Having come straight from is probably a year's difference between
Yeah,
filming. Having come from Only Connect, a team game that's
yeah.
kind of a bit more relaxed in terms of time pressure, and then
I
Mastermind, where the focus is on you. There is no one to bail you out if you have a blank moment.
Yeah, I messaged Paul and Nora who were on my team, the Jukeboxers last year, and I messaged them the day before we filmed Mastermind, and I said, "This feels really weird. It feels like I'm jumping out of a plane without a parachute because I don't have you guys as my like we've been so used to practicing as a team and doing
Mm,
things as a team." So yeah, it was very much getting out of your comfort zone a little bit, because by filming, you know, at least going into the second episode of Only Connect, you sort of get in the mojo, and you know how you work as a team and how you bounce off each other. But yeah, this is completely different because it's all on you, isn't it? And if you you've only got yourself to blame if you haven't done enough preparation for it. So yeah.
Well, it was a great effort. It was so close. I thought you might do it. You know, so I was yelling Crete out at you at the end, but
I know.
clearly I couldn't travel through time with my
I actually had Crete and Rhodes in my head as
Yeah.
the two, and I went for Rhodes, and yeah, well, it's fine. It's yeah, but no, it was very close, and you know, I wish Jonathan the best of the luck for the rest of the series, and I hope he does really, really well. So
excellent. Well, Chris says happy to fight on Bhagwan's side in the upcoming Bread Wars.
yes, team back.
So Michael says let's have a bun fight. And Gerard, from what I've seen on Twitter, people in Nottingham are convinced they gave the country the cob. And Pam, just I'm assuming that's not a phallic thing, Pam. I'm assuming that's a baguette. But don't worry, Pam. I know it's not a phallic thing. Don't worry. But anyway, it's got to that level. So Bhagwan, you did really well. Nailing your specialist subject round. You know, that's the bit that to a degree you can control. That's the bit, you know, you take pride in. General knowledge questions can fall your way or not fall your way, and you know that you know, you got a respectable score. Sadly, it was just one short. Next time you will be back.
That's fine. Yeah, no, it was a great experience, and you know, that was the thing I wanted to take away, that I wanted to do really well on my specialist subject and do it justice, and you know, to be 2 points ahead coming at the end of the first round, I think that is I'm quite happy with that.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, we are going to play a couple of short videos, and when we come back, we will have Jade with us, and we will all chat about Only Connect. Last week, you voted Scott Blish Quizzer of the Week for his Full House in OQL USA. Brian Craythorne was second for his 7 out of 8 in OQL, and Evan Lynch was third for his 14 out of 15 in the World Series of Quiz. Team of the Week was Jolly Luck Mixtures for their performance in the OQL Plate. Second was Bristol University for their performance in University Challenge, and third was Crustaceans for their win in Only Connect. Don't forget, you can nominate a player or team for Quizzer and Team of the Week. Go to tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations. We won't be releasing any more votes until the new year, but we will keep all those nominations until we start up again. So, thank you to all of our members. And now we are joined by Jade from the Cryptics. Jade,
Hello.
You've been on a few times now. I can't believe that the Cryptics are bowing out. It feels too early. It feels too early to be leaving.
I would have to agree, but maybe that's my bias.
I mean, it was an odd one that, you know, you get to the do or die stage and you're playing a team you've already beaten. Knowing, though, that, you know, you could go out, I guess that win was kind of, you know, it's nice, but I doubt it gave you that much confidence, did it? I don't know, did it?
The win from the first time, I don't think so, no, because even from our first encounter, we knew they were an incredibly brilliant team. And in the back of my mind, knowing that we'd have to play them again, maybe that's me being a bit pessimistic, but I was not I was not looking forward to playing it, but to be honest, we did our best.
Yeah, it was a good performance, you know, particularly at the end. We'll get on to the missing vowels. But they just didn't let much go, really, did they? They kept picking up points, and they picked up bonuses as and when they had the opportunities. So they were quite merciless. Did you feel that pressure building?
Yeah, I think I most certainly did. I could feel it in the at the end of the rounds when she'd say the scores, and I have to try and keep quite a neutral face. Although on the telly, I look at myself and oh dear, I really don't. I you can almost see how disappointed and stressed I look, but no.
At one point, we heard it in round 2 with that
Oh no.
connection about the vowels, where you just went, "That's so annoying." It's like, well, I think we can
I
relate to
mean,
Bhagwan. Bhagwan's got the face that, it's like the
am
10,000
I
miles.
wrong?
It just makes you do silly things, that show. It just makes you say most like
Am I wrong? Because normally in our team, I'm the one that's kind of very much into the wordy puzzles, and so whenever I don't see it, I get very annoyed. Evidently,
Bhagwan, watching this series,
yes.
watching the new kids playing in your playground, does it hurt? Have you got over it yet?
I want to go back. It's really fun, honestly. No, do you know what? The teams this year, there's some really great teams, and
yeah, I would
like
have to agree.
it's like playing, I don't know, it's like playing chess with champions. They're all like any team could win it. They're all that good. They're all a really high standard this year. And like with the cryptics especially, I remember sort of like watching the earlier rounds, and like you were one of my teams there. I was like, I really hope they do well, because they've got some great personalities on there, and you all got on really well as a team. And there were some things that like you were getting really early on. I thought, oh, they're going to be great. And it sort of got me going back to my like ours. We our first round, we did really well on like the missing vowels, and then we were behind the whole episode, and then we won because of that. And there were a few people that were the same with us. It's just that show just makes you just, well, you don't want to pull your hair out, doesn't it? It's just and you just get really annoyed with yourself. And I think there was one episode, was it like A B C D, and I remember your reaction on that, and I
Still
thought
hurts.
that would
It's a
exactly be
stinger.
the reaction of my team. Like that was just horrible, and on
Full on head in hands.
how like simply stupid it was, but it was just there. And then so that show just makes you it just makes you feel really silly sometimes.
It's much easier watching at home.
Oh,
I would
definitely,
say, because in the studio, your mind is racing. You're talking really fast because you've only got 40 seconds. You can't keep talking once the time has run out and Victoria going on to explain it doesn't count. You have to answer then and there. It's quite stressful.
So stressful,
but it is very fun.
Well, I mean, that's why people want to go back on the show. Bhagwan, I can't believe you're not lined up for one of the Christmas specials, but
I know. What's? I mean, come on, guys. Should have been on a music special as jukeboxes, but oh well. Maybe next year.
Maybe next
year.
Like
jukebox versus discotheques. Is that a team? Like they need to like a kind of. That would be good.
That would be good. I mean, I think we should do cryptics versus jukebox. I think that'd be really fun.
Yeah.
I think a 2021 2022 mashup would be brilliant. Yeah,
that would be great fun to watch. Gerard has chipped in the chat. I agree. Hearing the answer to simple connections I don't get is annoying. I think it's not so much that they're simple, it's that when you see it, it's like, I could and should have got that, rather than not necessarily it's easy, but it's like when you've drilled your team to think, let's look at anagrams, a bit like the wall, let's look at things that go before or after, let's look at shifting the vowel by one and stuff like that. When you don't get those and it's a possibility.
Yeah, in the first round there was one where I think I may have given like a heads up, where you kind of get halfway there but you don't really get the whole way and it never really fully clicks. But looking back, it was the one about roughage, and the wordy one where it was made up of the components, roughage being the same as rough age. Like if I was watching that at home, I think I would have been able to do it, but obviously there it's a different story.
and once you press the buzzer, and then the pressure is on to kind of give the definitive answer, and you're not quite there. And I guess the because I was captain, Molly was your captain. You start talking, hoping it's going to end up coming out there, and then somebody else chips in something, and you're all desperately trying to find your way there. That was a lovely question, but
it's a great question, just not one we liked to receive.
Yeah. And I thought, in terms of questions that didn't fall your way, because you've talked before on the show about the Irish language one working really well for you in game one. I have a feeling that the music was kind of not your demographic, really, to have Kula Shaker's version of Hush, which in itself was a cover of a Deep Purple song, Don't Speak, maybe, and then Shut Up Your Face from 1983-ish. Perhaps that didn't fall so kindly for you.
It's quite funny. I remember after that episode, when we spoke to our families about it, Molly's dad said something along the lines of, "Oh, I should have sung that song to you when you were younger, then you maybe would have got it," or something like that. It was something quite funny. But in terms of things not going our way, there were definite moments in that show where if we had picked certain questions, we would have picked up loads more points on, for example, the picture connection with the tallies. I would have known that for 5. We would have wanted to gamble on Rumpelstiltskin for 5. So it's very much which hieroglyphs you pick, really. But this makes me sound salty. I'm not salty, but there is a luck factor in determining what questions you end up getting, and you only have to hope that they don't get it. But in this case, as you say, they were fairly merciless, so those opportunities were few and far between.
It's definitely luck, and we've had it confirmed by people on the show that you genuinely are picking the question that sits behind that hieroglyph. It's not like the questions are going to come out in that order no matter what. So there is definitely luck on it. I've been corrected in the chat. Joe Dolce was number 1 in 1981. Catherine says first single she ever bought, and Michael, it's a not so bad not knowing Joe Dolce. That's his lyric reference there. Well done, Michael. Yeah, I mean it was an interesting first round. You were behind, but not massively so. We did enjoy the Steve says just say cannibals. Again, one of those where you're desperately trying to work your way to the answer. You kind of you know the postcode. You don't necessarily know the number on the road. If I really kind of stretch that analogy too far, but yeah, that was great. Second round, well, we talked about that so annoying on that, which it was again. But in terms of kind of annoying things, how annoying was it when Strigiforms fluked their way to the Anna Kendrick, Stan Laurel, Mo Molam connection?
This annoys me on multiple levels, because after our first match, which we filmed like a few months prior to shooting these, we were having a takeaway at my house, and we were just playing word games, like give a list of countries, like starting with A, and then you go around. And then we ended up playing this game where you have to have a celebrity's name, and then the end of the letter has to be the start of the next person. And we found it interesting going, oh, Anna Kendrick goes KK. And it just did not occur to me that was the case there. So in my mind, we'd actually had bridged on that topic prior to even filming the episode. So it doubly annoyed me, because I feel like we should have been able to get it, but we didn't. Again, with those picture rounds, it's also knowing enough of the people they show you. It's
and being able to recognize the picture when it's on a TV screen across the studio.
Kind of just
it's initially big, and then it shrinks down when the next clues come up, and it's like you get one.
Can we go back, please? Should you bring like a telescope to just
And that's the sort of thing, isn't it, Bhagwan, that I guess people at home don't realize the mechanics in studio, that you literally, it is as low tech as there being a TV screen across
It's
the way
just,
for
yeah,
you
it's
to
like
be
a
looking
black
at.
screen with white writing on it, and you have to
Yeah.
basically do this to look at it, and they're telling you you're squinting. You need to stop doing that. So it's not
I don't know, you
always
could
the
move it
most
closer.
clearest, is it? Yeah. No, isn't it clearest? Because even like the picture clues, they come up as like a grid rather than a like the linear format as you can see on television. So that can sometimes get quite confusing as well. So yeah, well, there we go.
Yeah, so at the end of round 2, 3 to the cryptics, 7 to the Strigiform. So actually, still, within the realms of a good wall for you and a poor wall for them, being on level terms.
It happened the other way around, I'm afraid.
And we will get onto the wall in a second. I just want to play a couple of short videos. If you are looking for last-minute Christmas ideas for yourself or for some other trivia-obsessed person, then check out our latest video full of recommendations of books that you could get for Christmas. Absolutely top-drawer recommendations, all books that we stand well behind. Check it out. Last week, the answer in need of a question was giant, and this question won it. How is the national fruit of the US state of Georgia described in the title of one of Roald Dahl's books? Well done to Alexia Jarvis, who wrote that question. The answer in need of a question this week is snow, and you can now vote on the long list. Go to tinyurl.com/WITQ snow. Even though this Sunday is Christmas Day, we'll still be releasing a new word in need of an answer. Check it out on Facebook and Twitter. And again, it'll be going to a vote as usual on Monday. So there we are, back again. Walls. Now, Jade, before we went and looked at those videos, you said it didn't go so well. Have to say, though, the spot on homophones and numbers was superb.
Thank you.
I mean, watching that was just, it was great. You got the hammer, the blast, tried knock, but then the numbers, the homophones and numbers. Again, is that the sort of thing that you practiced as a team, looking for that sort of stuff?
I find that my general knowledge isn't really as good as my other teammates, so I kind of lean more towards the more abstract clues and wordiness and things to look out for, just as like as a team member would do to complement, I suppose. And after the disaster that was the Asda Co-op Lidl the supermarket fiasco last time, which I'm I'm still annoyed at not spotting. I knew that if I had to spot the word one this time to redeem myself, and my strategy for that is to pick the most obscure looking word and think, what is going on here? And to me as a medic, I gravitate towards benign, because I'm like, yeah, no, that's definitely not going to be about cancer, is it? So what's really going on here? And I remember just looking at it and almost willing a connection into my mind. And I settled on, benign. Yeah, benign. And I kept saying it to myself. And that's when it started to click, because I saw before as well. So I had those two, which I voiced. And then I didn't actually see the other two, but Podrick and Molly were able to spot those in Slate and Basics, which I thought was a really nice display of our teamwork. I may have said this before, but I'm very good at getting halfway to the full solution, and which is why I wouldn't want to do a solo show, because I feel I'm just there to support and give little nudges of knowledge to my teammates.
But it is a team game, isn't it, Bhagwan? And that's the key, isn't it?
That's the thing.
It's having people who can finish off what somebody starts, and spot that somebody's onto something, even if they're starting to veer away from it. It's
Yeah, I mean, even if from my experience knowing Pet, even if somebody in the team has said, "Oh, well, I think it might be this," and then the other person is, "Oh, right, no, I actually think it is this," and then you all work together, and I think that's the beauty of it. And I completely agree with you, Jade. It's like when you start going on things on your own, it's like,
yeah,
I don't want to do this. It's just too much. But that's the good thing about Only Connect, because it's very, very lateral thinking, and sometimes you can think too laterally, even though the rest of your team aren't, and then they'll steer you back in the right direction. But that was a really good teamwork on that.
It's interesting hearing your thought process, Jade, because it's easy if you spot something that seems to work that you could lose time thinking about it. Jamie's come up with, I thought it was countries, benign to Benin. No other countries fit. But how long would you, if you thought, instead of thinking benign and thinking 9, if you'd have seen take the G out, you've got a country, you could have wasted so much time thinking about the wrong thing.
But then again, from our perspective, in our first wall, actually, we had nationalities minus a letter, and I don't really think it would have come up again. And even so, with the letters, it's normally either at the start or at the end, because I feel like that even that would be a little bit harsh. But that's all part of the lateral thinking process, so I can't fault that line of thinking. It's just what you see in the moment, I guess.
It is. Gerard said people who spot half a question are vital on OC. Absolutely. So yeah, and tonight was the first time you saw the other team's wall. What did you make of that?
I preferred it greatly. I'll be honest. I preferred it greatly. I spotted the Williams. That was pretty. What were there? There were Williams. The first half of like cartoon duos, homophones of vegetables, and there was one more.
Words meaning tell.
To reveal, to I thought that was a lot simpler in my mind compared to Renault cars. I don't know what that says about my character. I've just never really been a car person. I don't think I would have, like, they did sound like cars, but even then I probably would have guessed Peugeot or something. I'm going to offend people there for not knowing my cars again, but I don't know. And it's okay to not know.
It's a pity because, when I see, when you see Spas and McGann, if you vaguely know cars, it's like, okay, but then Clio, somebody made the Muses connection. So once you know Clio's a Muse, then maybe McGann's one. Maybe it's not an implausible guess, but it was just unfortunate that. And then the other unfortunate one, of course, in your wall was the Hugh Jackman. Bet. And
even then, I tend to leave actors and things to the other two because my knowledge there also isn't too hot.
So the Strigiforms, to their credit, they picked up everything ultimately, put them in a really strong position, 17 points to 7. Going into missing vowels, it's 12 points available with these 3 sets, 10 points down. Did you think the game was lost, or did you think actually we're pretty good on the buzzer, we've got a chance here?
I wasn't hopeful because I'm a bit of a pessimist, but you can't give up just yet. Like, it's not over until it's fully over. And we knew from our first match they are very quick on the buzzer, because there is a delay on television. You do see it first come up before it shows to the contestants in the studio. So it's not that anybody is slow, it's just like we're all really stressed, ready to go.
And the first set was split 2-1 in your favor, but the sayings with fewer animals, my word, that was
very
brilliant.
Good from us.
It was superb.
Even I was surprised. I was like, yeah, sure, let's go. Much better than building societies, which I still remember from our first game.
Because you have to spot. A bird in the hand is worth 1 in the bush. Just to kind of spot what the thing, and then not say the wrong thing as well. When it'd be so easy
like it's raining cats.
It was superb, and so in fact you won all 3 sets of vowels because you won the symphonies and the composers as well. It just, as you say, wasn't to be. 3 points short on the day. Is there anything else you could have done to change the result apart from picking different categories and a different wall?
I think it genuinely came down to how the questions were distributed between the teams. If we had picked water to start, we would have already been up 5 points. If things played out differently, maybe it would have been different. Maybe If we had their wall, we would have had a better time. But even then, they could have had a really good vowels round. So it's, you don't really know. But safe to say, I think we did the best we could, because this episode was filmed. We filmed this and our last episode back to back. So I was already reeling. That's a bit dramatic, actually. I was still coping with our loss against Mother's Ruin, knowing we were going up against a very fierce and Strigiform team out for revenge. So we were a bit I felt a bit daunted going into it, but it was, if that was going to be our last game, may as well give it everything we had. So yeah.
And in the months that have transpired since, how do you look back on your Only Connect experience?
I genuinely think it was an amazing experience. I don't know if I'm allowed to show some kind of, so much so that my family have been incredibly supportive of me, and this was a picture that we got in the studio with Victoria afterwards. We got the I think Charlotte or Hannah I'm so sorry, I've forgotten their names, but to take a picture and had that sent to us. So it's I would, if I could do it all over again, I would, for better team placement or for worse. It was amazing to meet Victoria and meet all these fantastic teams that we're still in contact with. I'm sure other contestants on here have mentioned that we have a WhatsApp group chat, and it feels like a family of incredibly clever people, and I've enjoyed every second of it.
Brilliant. And Bhagwan, more time has elapsed for you, but with the benefit of distance, how do you look back on your Only Connect time?
Oh, really, really good. I really envy your picture, because it was still, when we filmed, it was very much still strict lockdown procedures. I mean,
really?
Yeah, like the waiting, the green room, waiting room. Sorry, I've got healthcare. We all had this on the brain. We were all spaced out, and we weren't allowed to sort of really interact and mingle and that much with the other team. So it's really nice that you've had a really good experience with it. But yeah, I mean, looking back on it, it was so good. I'd love to do it again. You're right. It's just like it's a great family. Like, out of the quiz shows that I've done, it's that you're still in touch after, and they make sure you're okay, and you're part of like a little group of people, and it's really nice to be a part of that. It's lovely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. It's just another community / like quiz community that you end up being a part of, and having been on Only Connect, a couple of us from various Only Connect teams this season have gone on to do some of Frank Paul's quizzes or online quizzes. Some of them have met up in real life and dominated the pub quiz scene, which is maybe a little bit unfair on the public, but it's just really nice, and we're all so supportive. We come up with questions for each other, we make walls for each other, and I genuinely didn't realize this is what going on Only Connect would lead to, but I'm so glad that it has, because I love every single one of them.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, I mean, we've loved watching you. It's disappointing that we won't see you again until you're on a special, and hopefully along with Bhagwan next Christmas, if not before.
We put it here.
So Michael says, never unfair dominating the pub quiz scene. Yeah, Michael is all for muggle rinsing, aren't you, Michael? And are the UC Christmas specials a look of things to come? No perspex. And Pam says, yes, no screens. Well,
I didn't actually notice.
We seem to be through that. Cool. Here we are. Steve saying the Cryptics were such a fun team. Loved their energy and enthusiasm. That really did come across on camera. So brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to watch in every respect. Now we're going to play the nominations for Quizzer and Team of the Week. When we come back, we'll reflect on Champagne Moment of the night. So get your thinking caps on. We'll also just touch on a little bit on the festive University Challenge, but really just a little bit on that. So see you in about a minute. This week's nominees are, for Quizzer of the Week, Jennifer Blanton with an OQL USA Full House, Scott Blish with an OQL USA Full House, Frederick Bush with 15 out of 15 in the International Culture Challenge, Alan Gibbs, winner of Quiz in the North, Mark Lashley, 11 out of 15 in the Pop Solos Tier Finals, Evan Lynch, 14 out of 15 in Mimir as well, tonight's Mastermind winner, Wang Duosheng, winner of the Episode 1 of the Chinese Geolocation Quiz Show, and Wu Yunji, winner of the Chinese National Treasures Quiz Show. And for Team of the Week, the nominees are the Bletchington Nomads, the John Jacob Cup winners, Jolly Mixtures, the OQL Plate winners, North-South Axis, top scorers in Quiz Nations Portugal, tonight's Only Connect winners, Team Daffin, winners of the Team Quiz at Quiz in the North, and 4 out of 5 Cats, top scorers in OQL USA. Cast your vote now at tinyurl.com/QW19DECA. That's tinyurl.com/QW19DECA. Voting closes at 6 p.m. on Friday. Okay, so that's the nominations. We'll put a link to that in the description below, and it will be going up on our Facebook and Twitter if it hasn't already. So yes, we are into University Challenge Christmas season. Very different tonally from perhaps the normal University Challenge series, and I wouldn't necessarily suggest we pick over the bones, but I did want to raise this because it could possibly be my champagne moment, and it was Debiri of SOAS, when there was the Motown music bonuses, and they were taking a long time trying to remember who did Band of Gold, and Paxo goes, "I need an answer," and she goes, "Yeah, I know," and it was just the way she just put him in his place, and probably got another 30 seconds of thinking time because she was just like, brilliant. It was that was brilliant.
Paxton was too stunned to speak.
He probably was.
High levels of sass.
It was sass to the extreme. Catherine saying, got all the 3 Motowns right. Yeah, I mean, they were good. I mean, I think with this being not one of the standard episodes, the level was a little bit lower, but there was still some really good quizzing went on. Balliol's O'Neill was very good. He got some very good buzzes. There seemed to be a lot of football and a lot of World War II, to my mind. But when you got the picture round of female strikers from the Euros, then more power to your elbow question setters, I thought that was fantastic. And Beth Mead will probably take that as a little bit of a tonic as she nurses her ACL injury right now. But yes, Balliol won. It remains to be seen whether that's good enough to get them through to the next round of the Christmas competition. But, excuse me, champagne moment of the evening. And again, as ever, it can be anything said or done by anyone. It could be a question. It can be a comment. Bhagwan, what was your top moment of the night?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think definitely doing my specialist subject justice, and somebody has pointed out to me that on my walk back to my seat it looked like I had tripped over, so I'm gonna take that as my champagne moment. Because if you trip over on TV and survive, then it's great.
Yeah, and Only Connect are always sat down. You don't have to get anywhere.
Who needs to walk? I mean, you sat down, you got a water in front of you, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, you trip, style it out. That's all you could do.
Exactly.
Jade, how about you?
I think I think I have to say it was our wall. I don't think this episode wasn't really on par with our other 2, but I think in all of our episodes there has been one moment where we have just displayed really good teamwork. In the first one, it was me giving the tip off Tosis for words beginning with like PT. We got that for 3. In the second episode, there was that really nice Pokemon question, which fell into our hands quite nicely, which I enjoyed. And then I think in this one, in our wall, me getting the tip off on those number homophones, I think is that highlight from today's episode. But all the respect to the Stridgeforms, a truly formidable team, and I can't wait to sit back, relax and watch the rest of the episodes. Just very, very excited to see what happens in the series now.
Absolutely. Now, Matt Maynard has said, I think mine was Cryptics almost bringing it back with an incredible missing vowels round. Made it very close given the circumstances. Chris Dyson, close your ears. It was lucking out with Nolan. That sort of Hail Mary pass. But yeah, I mean, on such things a game can turn. I think for me, it was the sayings with fewer animals. Missing vowels section. I just thought that was really good, and I really enjoyed seeing how the Cryptics nailed it. Chris is asking, is gaslighting a chestnut now? It seems to be in every other quiz. I think these things go in phases, and there must be a term for things seeming like they're coming up all over the place. A bit like the Bader-Meinhof, but I don't know. But yes, so I think for me it was that missing vowels. But it was great seeing Bhagwan nail the specialist subject round. Really nice. I always really like to see somebody who's done their work on Mastermind, because you can tell when someone hasn't quite covered all bases and put the work in. You're answering sharply. You got pretty much everything right, all bar one. And it was just great. It was really good to see, and it was just great again watching Only Connect and the enjoyment. Steve Oldham talking about things that come up tonight. Humanism. So we had a humanist celebrant in Mastermind, and then you had the chief exec of the British Humanist Association on University Challenge. It was a good night for the humanists. And Catherine says, my own champagne moment, scored 150 points on University Challenge. Another one for the best performance file. Well done, Catherine. So that is it for tonight. Thank you so much to Bhagwan and to Jade for coming back on. It's been great having you back again, Bhagwan, after I don't know,
a year,
months and months, a year. and Jade, it's been great having you on this series, and hopefully we will see you again for some chat in the future. Don't forget, if you're watching now or on catch up, that you can vote for Quizzer and Team of the Week at tinyurl.com/QW19DECA. You can vote for What is the Question at tinyurl.com/WITQ And don't forget, we have nominations open for the World Quiz Awards open till the 24th, and that is at tinyurl.com/WQA22noms. Loads of stuff there. Thank you everybody who's watched and commented and chatted, and we will see you again in the new year. So have a wonderful Christmas and a happy new year, everybody, and we will see you again soon. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.